Okay, Mayor Bavels, we're live.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to everyone to the 83rd meeting of the 7th Council of the Municipality of South Dundas. We're once again meeting via WebEx, and we'll be doing for some time from what we see. So everybody be smart and stay safe as best you can. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Mayor Bivels,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Gardner,
Here.
Councillor Wells,
Here.
Councillor Lewis,
Here.
Councillor Mellon,
Here.
CEO Garrity,
Here.
Deputy Clerk Robert,
Here.
Treasurer McMillan,
Here.
Director of Environmental Services,
Here.
Director of Transportation,
Here.
Director of Planning and Enforcement,
Here.
Director of Fire and the Fire Chief,
Here.
Deputy Treasurer Mason,
Here.
Manager of Parks and Rec,
Here.
Planning Consultant Reed.
Here.
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Confirmation of agenda. Any additions, deletions, or amendments this evening, Madam Clerk?
I'd like to add an in-camera to finish the in-camera that we started at 5 o'clock at the end of the meeting. And also under consent, the items 10L, W, X, and Y have been moved to discussion items.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything for any additions, deletions, or amendments from any member of council at this time? Seeing none. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof this evening? Seeing none, I'll have the adoption of minutes from the March 16th and the March 22nd meetings, please.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that the minutes of the 80th special meeting and the 81st regular and in-camera meetings of council be adopted as circulated.
Any discussions on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll hear the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. We'll move into the public meetings for this evening, Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Mellon, that the public meeting to consider 3 zoning bylaw amendments be opened at 6:07 p.m.
I'll hear the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Before we start the public meeting, I have this statement to read. I now declare a public meeting held by the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas under section 17, 21, and 34 of the Planning Act be here to be open. There are 3 zoning bylaw amendments applications being considered this evening. Zoning bylaw amendment for part lots 8 and 9, concession 7 of the former municipality of Matilda. Zoning bylaw amendment part lot 36, concession 8 north, former municipality of Matilda. Zoning bylaw amendment part lot 31, concession 5, former municipality of Williamsburg. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of or contrary to any of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments will be given the opportunity to do so. Before you make a presentation, I would ask that you provide your name and address. I'm required by the Planning Act to advise you that if you do not make an oral presentation tonight or written submission before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is adopted by Municipal Council, you will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the local planning appeal tribunal. I'm also required to advise you that if you do not make an oral presentation tonight or a written submission before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is adopted by Municipal Council, you may not be added as a party to any hearing of any appeal before the local planning appeal. Aaron Reed to provide a brief overview for each application. Following the overview for each file, we will open the floor to anyone wishing to make an oral presentation on the specific application. So our first one tonight is the zoning bylaw amendment for 8, 9, concession 7 for municipality of Matilda. Aaron? You're muted, Aaron. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. My microphone was activated. So this application is for part lots 8 and 9, concession 7. The results of severance application B-102-20, which will sever a surplus dwelling from the vacant farm parcel. The zoning bylaw is required as a condition of the severance application. It will rezone the severed portion of the property from agricultural to agricultural special exception 70 to reduce the minimum required frontage for the single detached dwelling from 45 meters to the proposed 8 meters. It will also rezone the retained lands from agricultural to agricultural special exception 8, which does not permit any form of residential development on the property. Planning sees no issues with this application, and no comments have been received with regards to this application at this time.
Are there any public comments to this application?
Thank you, Mayor Bovelds. No, none at this time.
Thank you. And we'll move on to any comments from any members of council on this one? Then we'll move on to zoning bylaw amendment, part lot 36, concession 8, north, former municipality of Matilda. Aaron?
Thank you. The municipality has received a zoning bylaw amendment application to rezone part lot 36, concession 8, north from mineral aggregate pit to rural. So this lot was a sand. In 2019, the aggregate license was surrendered. MNRF inspected the property and found that the reserve was depleted. The lot has no obligations with respect to the Aggregate Resource Act. The application is also subject to an official plan amendment, which will redesignate the lands from extractive resource lands to rural district. The county is going through a housekeeping amendment, which will allow for properties that have been depleted of sand, gravel, bedrock, or mineral aggregate resources that have been fully rehabilitated and have surrendered their aggregate license to the satisfaction of the county to not require an official plan amendment, and will instead go through a housekeeping amendment or comprehensive official plan review to accurately reflect the use at that time. The surrounding lands are zoned rural special exception 26 and agricultural special exception 31. These exceptions were to recognize that these lands were adjacent to a mineral aggregate pit and require that development on these lands submit studies which demonstrate that the proposed development would not preclude or hinder the resource. This bylaw will remove the special exceptions and revert these properties to rural and agricultural respectfully. Planning sees no issues with this application, and no comments have been received regarding this application at this time.
Okay, any further public comments this evening?
No, Mayor Bovelds, not at this time.
Any comments from council or questions from council on this file? Seeing none, we'll move on then to zoning bylaw amendment, part lot 31, concession 5, Morrisville municipality.
Thank you. The municipality has received a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone part lot 36, concession 5, known municipally as 4326 County Road 31 or Bank Street. The applicant has applied to permit a semi-detached dwelling on the property and to recognize the existing setbacks. The planning department has recommended to rezone the property from general commercial to general commercial special exception 16 to permit a semi-detached dwelling and recognize the lot deficiencies for lot area, lot frontage, front yard depth, and interior side yard width. The applicant's lawyer has reached out and they have asked to rezone the subject property from general commercial to residential hamlet with the special exceptions to permit the commercial use. The commercial use is presently permitted on the property, as well as recognize lot deficiencies of the residential hamlet zone, which would be for the lot area, front yard depth, and the interior side yard width. So from the planning side, we see no technical issues with their request to rezone to residential hamlet with these special exceptions. This was provided after my planning report and recommendation was provided to council. And I do believe that one of their, either the applicant or their lawyer is here this evening to speak to this further.
If they are there, please present yourself and I'll recognize you.
Hi, Mr. Stewart. If you can unmute your mic and present your comments to council now.
Mr. Stewart, you need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Can hear you now, sir.
Yes.
Are you speaking?
No, sorry, I didn't hear your question.
You can go ahead if you have any comments concerning this application.
No, actually, I heard Aaron's statement, and it's pretty much in line with what I was requesting.
Okay. Any further public comments?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Can you mute yourself, Mr. Stewart? Okay. Any comments from any members of council on this application? Council Mellon?
Yeah, just to clarify what Aaron, you have said that this will be special, it'll fall under the hamlet. It won't be just strictly commercial. It'll fall under hamlet designation so that commercial isn't the primary change. Is that right?
So the designation is what's provided in the official plan from the county, which has this area as the commercial district. And for that reason, we recommended initially maintaining that commercial zone, which comes from our zoning bylaw and reflects the official plan. They did ask for it to be residential hamlet, with the exception to keep all of the permitted commercial uses from the commercial zone that the property has right now. Because right now the property is zoned commercial and it doesn't permit the semi-detached dwelling, which the applicant would like to do on the property. So by permitting the semi-detached is permitted, but to keep those commercial uses, to keep in line with the county official plan, they say, let's do the residential hamlet, keep all those commercial uses, and also acknowledge any lot deficiencies, like I said, with the lot area and the front yard depth.
Okay, as
So I
long
hope
as it's what the applicant wanted. I had a conversation today with an individual about this. As long as it's what the applicant wanted and had requested. Okay, just want to clarify, make sure it was we were heading down the right road. What they were requesting. Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Anything further? Seeing none, I'll thank Erin for now. She will be coming back later for the bylaws. Can Madam Clerk close the public meeting?
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that the public meeting to consider 3 zoning bylaw amendments be closed at 6:18 p.m.
All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Move on to delegations. This evening, we have 2. First one is Carolyn Corkery from Halpenny Insurance Brokers concerning our 2021 insurance review. Carolyn, welcome.
Thank you. And I'll try to put up my PowerPoint and address any questions. Can everyone see this?
It's not up yet.
I'm not certain of how to.
Carolyn, if
How
it's
to do
easier, I
that.
have the PowerPoint up. I can share it and you can just direct me to change slides when you're ready.
Okay, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, everyone should be able to see that.
Okay, so so the next slide. So it's just a summary of your insurance portfolio for the 2021 to 2022. We'll look at the coverage overview, value-added services, benefits, the rising cost of risk, and any question. Next, please. So basically, you have municipal liabilities, air and emission, non-owned auto. The limit is 5 million limit with an aggregate. And then on top of the liability, you also have a 45 million umbrella. So you have a total of 50 million. The major changes to the insurance this year, besides premium, is the deductible increase from 7,500 to 10,000, which is their minimum deductible. Wrongful dismissal deductible increase from 5,000 to 10,000. And the limit on wrongful dismissal is 500,000 per claim aggregate, and that's wrongful dismissal legal expense. Wrongful dismissal claims have been increasing, especially with the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of activity. The retroactive date on your errors and omission is unlimited, so it goes back to when the error was made, so it's not restricted. Environmental is 2.5 million any one claim with a 5 million aggregate, and it's an unlimited retro, and again, the deductible is 10,000. You also have under your municipal liability, sudden and accidental pollution for the full 50 million limit. So if you had a grader going down the road, you have a full 50 million. This environmental is covering gradual as well as sudden and accidental. One major change to the municipal liability is there's a contaminant disease limitation on the policy. The definition of bodily injury includes disease. There was no exclusion pertaining to the COVID pandemic, and now insurers are either excluding or putting a limitation. The Marsh program, which was the former JLT program, has $1 million limit with a 25,000 deductible, but for certain classes, long-term care, daycare, medical facilities, hospital, it's an absolute contaminant exclusion on there for the obvious reasons of unfortunate claims arising from the pandemic. The automobile has stayed the same. You have a $5 million limit and your umbrella is over and above that. Your deductible remains $7,500 all perils for at-fault losses. The not at-fault losses, if someone hit you, there is no deductible on that. Next page. So we talked about the umbrella and its excess of your liability, your E&O, your non-owned auto, and your auto, and that's also excess of volunteers auto if they're using the vehicle for business. For liability, conflict of interest stays the same at 100,000 per claim with no aggregate, no deductible. Legal expense for other than the Highway Traffic Act or a criminal charge is 100,000, 500,000 aggregate. Cyber liability is $1 million, except as otherwise stated, like phishing is 50,000 and cyber crime is 250,000. The deductible is 10,000 and the crime deductible is 25,000. You were previously insured with NCON, and they came in at a renewal premium this year. Last year, their renewal was $5,695, and their renewal premium this year came in at $12,125 because of the increased activity in cyber claims. And we moved that. We got 2 quotes, and we moved that to Coalition, which provided a lower premium, but they do have a higher crime deductible. Next page, please. So then we have property and equipment breakdown. We have property of every description of all your properties, 102 million and change. We have the golf greens for named perils, 64,000. We have contractors' equipment, your graders, backhoes, etc. 1,352,000, and we have the vacant clubhouse at 477. Deductible is 10,000 except 7,500 on fine arts and EDP. Flood, and that the deductible was 7,500 and it's up to 10. Flood deductible was 50 and it's up to 100 because of the massive floods throughout our country. If you're in 100-year flood zone, it's 250. Earthquake is 15%, 250. It was 5%, 100,000. And testing and commissioning, if you were doing construction, we would cover equipment breakdown with testing and commissioning with a 50,000 deductible. Next, please. So then we have your crime, employee dishonesty, money and securities, professional fees, as the limits as shown. We have council accident, 200,000, covering 10 persons, councils, and 5 staff. And then we have the out of province medical for 5 council. It's 15-day trip duration. The council accident is 2.5 aggregate and 100,000, $1 million lifetime for the emergency medical. And again, that's 24-hour coverage. It covers not only on duty, it covers an accident. It's not a sickness policy, it's an accident policy. Next, please. And then we have the volunteer accidents to cover your volunteers under the age of 80 for on duty, 50,000 limit with $1 million aggregate. And we have volunteer firefighters, 61 members, covering them on a 24-hour basis with 150,000 principal sum. And it also pays in once a claim has been accepted under workers' comp for accident, this policy would kick in. The renewal premium this year is $221,699. That's an 11% increase, an increase of $20,807 over expiring. So just to, next please. So the value added services we provide, we review your exposures and give recommendations as to risk controls, risk mitigation. We do contract reviews. We reviewed just recently the lease for the medical center, and we do review and recommend changes to your contract so that in the event you hire somebody to do work, we're gonna transfer the risk through contractual transfers and indemnification. And we also provide educational training. We haven't been providing a lot of training in the last year with the pandemic, but as we're all getting used to webinars and videos, we're starting to ramp that up again. Next, please. So by adapting solutions, contractual transfers, mitigation, identifying risk, we help you to reduce the cost of claims, and reducing the cost of claims will stabilize and hopefully reduce the cost of risk, what would equal a lower tax assessment. I had a client, one of my municipalities asked me, there was a resolution regarding joint and several liability being passed around earlier this year, and she asked if that was the main impact to insurance premiums. And while it is a main impact to insurance premium, I don't personally feel it's a main impact. I feel with the Ontario Auto being no fault and automobiles, you cannot sue the party that's responsible for the accident unless your losses met a catastrophic loss. We're seeing more claims coming back through the municipality for our roads. we're seeing more claims coming back for slip and falls. Even the recent bill, and I forget the number offhand, that's changed with the limiting the amount of time someone can bring a claim, that's really not going to impact our municipalities or our snow removal contractors, because we're seeing a huge increase in slip and fall claims. And I had a municipality that had 2 slip and fall claims within 2 days, and this person slipped at 9 o'clock, and by 11 o'clock we had a lawyer's letter. So I don't think the joint and several is the main impact. I think it's just society and people looking for compensation. Next, please. So just basically, I look at the cost of risk as your premium plus your deductibles plus uninsured losses equals your cost of risk. Increased claims equals an increased cost of risk. Increased cost of risk equals increased operating cost, and increased operating cost, unfortunately, equals increased taxes. Insurance premiums have increased considerably this past year. I know 11% does affect the budget. I have been getting increases as high as 75%. So the claims are coming in, not maybe for your municipality, but the definition of insurance, which I learned early in my career, is the losses of a few spread amongst the many. So even if the municipality has had a better than average loss history, if other Ontario municipal have risk, it's going to impact the overall base rate. Any questions or concerns or?
Can, Ethan, can you take the screen down, please, and then I can see everybody? Okay, thank you. First of all, Carol, I'd like to thank you so far for your presentation. You come back to council every year with letting us know what our coverages are, what our issues are, and what the overall issues in municipal insurance. We hear it a lot when we do go to conferences, and we do hear from our staff that claims have gone up considerably. So I think the public needs to be very well aware that as much as we ask a lot from those who do things for the municipality, be insurance, we need to spread our risks out as best we can, especially when costs go up at least 11. I'll turn it over to council. Mayor Gardner, please.
Sure. Actually, insurance is the cost of doing business, so I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Okay, before I go on, if anybody's not muted, please do so. We're getting some background back and forth.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Mayor Bybel. It's Carolyn. If you could just either turn down your audio coming from your computer or mute your mic between questions. That will reduce the echo that we're experiencing.
Yeah,
Oh, she got the mute button.
You got the mute button, so. Okay, we're not here to cut you off. We're just getting some background echo. So, Council Wells, any comments, questions, concerns?
I know all the municipalities are in the same boat here with insurance companies. We all know we all hate insurance companies personally. Myself, it's the way it is. And to Carol saying about people out there is just looking to get compensated for stuff, and I just like to make the public aware, like it's costing all the taxpayers, not just in our municipality, but all of Ontario, for these people that go out there and take all their slips and stuff, and it's not quite legit. So just hopefully people will start maybe just being honest. Thank you, Mayor.
Council Lewis?
No questions. Just like to say thank you, Caroline. Another good job. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Council Mellon?
Yeah, Carolyn, if you can, thank you for the presentation, but under our volunteer firefighters, can you clarify, you mentioned the weekly disability 300 for 4 weeks and then 900 weekly after 4 weeks. You mentioned something about the workman's compensation. Does that kick in for the first 4 weeks? Is that why there's such a difference between the 300 and 900 weekly?
I believe so, yes. Workers' comp unfortunately will not provide any information, but I know if there was a claim under our VFIS, one of the conditions is that it's accepted by workers' comp. And then if they do, if it's a longer claim, they can claim under both policies. It's our policy is not reduced by the amount they receive from workers' comp. They have to provide, you know, employment information, etc.
Okay, I just want to, if we could get some clarification, maybe staff can give us some clarification in another meeting, make sure that we're, you know, our weekly disability for the first 4 weeks is at 300, and then after that is 900. I mean, I just want to make sure that our firefighters, our men and women, are adequately compensated if they're hurt on, you know, and that sort of jumped out at me. Also,
what I'll
Carolyn,
do,
what's that?
sorry, I was just going to say, what I'll do is I'll go to the insurance company and ask them to give me a clarification, and I'll send it to the municipality.
Yes, please, because I think it's important. Our men and women on our fire departments are adequately covered. Just that number jumped out at me, the difference. Also, Carolyn, does this policy cover any deficiencies or any issues in our building department and anything that covers under our septic program, which we use outside source, I believe under the building code section, I think it's section 8 under the building code, but are we covered somewhat in this under any issues within the building code? And since our outside providers would have insurance for septic issues, would that wouldn't be covered under here?
The E&O would cover municipal liability. You have professional liability to cover bodily injury and property damage. So if there was damage, property damage, the errors and omission covers the financial loss. So if there was a claim from building inspections or building codes and they alleged that you were negligent and it was proven you were negligent, the policy would respond subject to the policy terms and conditions and exclusions. All policies have exclusions. We see a lot of activities under building codes where years ago something was done and maybe it wasn't done properly. And as our population is aging and people are starting to sell their property, we're seeing that. And unfortunately, perhaps a contractor that did the work is no longer in business or they vanished or whatever. So we're seeing the claims coming back to the municipality.
Okay.
You have a broad E&O policy. There's no retro date, so it doesn't say that anything happened before 2000 would not be covered. It would go back to whenever the claim occurred, and that would be the policy that would respond.
Okay. As far as the septic program, that would be covered under our outside contractor who we use for septic inspections and whatnot. They would have the insurance for that.
They should have insurance for that, and it should be in your agreement with them that they would have the insurance. But if you were named in that claim alleging that the municipality did or did not do something right, then your policy would kick in. We're having some concerns with the contractual agreements with various companies, and that's why the wordings that we have given the municipality, like the indemnification, primary and non-contributing, so that we do. I'm not certain if your municipality, but many of my municipalities now use South Nation to do their sewage inspections and hookup. Used to be the health unit, but they got out of that business several years ago, and it's South Nation. And we have reviewed that contract for some of the municipalities, and we put the language in there that South Nation needs to provide evidence of CGL, commercial general liability, and errors and omission, and they have to have an indemnification. And the indemnification clause that we've amended is saying that it is in addition to and not in lieu of any applicable insurance, because all insurance policies contain exclusions. Even if their policy has an exclusion and they erred in carrying out this service, they should still be responsible for the municipality. Like, we're trying to transfer, we're not transferring your exposure, but if somebody is doing the work for you, they need to be responsible for that work.
I think there needs to be some clarification and discussion on this matter. I'm not going to get into it tonight, Mayor Bybels, but thank you.
Okay, to be fair to you, Council Mellon, I think we'll ask our building staff to clarify our contract with South Nation, because that is who it is, and make sure that Carolyn has looked at the contract and is covering us as well as it needs to, because especially since they do the work, they need to be responsible for the for any issues that come after. Anything else from any other member of council? If not, once again, thanks, Carolyn, for coming to council and re-enlightening us on insurance. It's not a file that is something that we enjoy to deal with, but it's one of those necessities of life, and it's certainly come to the forefront more and more, as you say, every day. And without it, we can't be. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. So our next delegation is from the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club concerning a proposal for the Iroquois Community Gardens. I have Carol Thompson listed as our first vice president. Is she speaking?
Yes, I am.
Okay, welcome, Carol, and I also welcome all the Lions members that are online. I do see a few familiar faces, so welcome to South Dundas Council this evening. Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Bybels, Deputy Mayor Gardner, Councillor Wells, Lewis, and Mellon. My name is Carol Thompson. I am representing the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club in my capacity as Vice President. Joining me this evening is the current President, Lion Jim Devaney, past President, Lion Yvonne Delagarde, and our current Treasurer and past President, Lion Stephen Wilson. We would like to thank you for this opportunity to present our community garden proposal and would like to confirm that you have received a copy of the proposal.
Yes, we do. We had it in our council package.
Okay, great. Thank you. Firstly, Lion President Jim Devaney would like to provide a summary of Lions Club International. Lion Jim?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors. Thanks very much for having us here tonight. The Iroquois Matilda Lions have been serving this community and Lions International since 1947. We're here for the long haul. We're part of the world's largest service organization, consisting of 1.2 million members in over 200 countries. Lions serve locally, for example, our seniors' Christmas party, assistance with projects at the beach, as well as building the band shell at the Iroquois Locks. We're here for sustainable ventures. We don't build something and walk away from it. We're here for the long haul, people. We serve our district. We fund numerous summer camps for children with medical conditions and operating the Lions Foundation of Canada, which provides free guide dogs for people in need. Lions, we also serve globally. Lions Foundation, since its inception, has approved 13,000 grants for over $1 billion US. Currently, Lions International has approved grants more than 5.2 million just for COVID relief activities. Lions International has 5 core initiatives: environment, diabetes, hunger, vision, and childhood cancer. This community garden project highlights 2 of these initiatives, environment and hunger. As head of the project, Lion Carol will be making this presentation to you and answering your questions. Lion Stephen, as the club treasurer, is here to answer any financial questions you might have on ensuring our participation and sustainability of this project. Thank you very much, Lion Carol.
Thanks, Lion Jim. The Lions Club is proposing the development of a community garden within Iroquois village limits that would be open to all members and residents of South Dundas. The Lions are willing to accept the responsibility of care, upkeep, and management of the gardens with the understanding that the municipality will retain the ownership of the property. The Lions want this to truly be a community garden. We have entered discussions with Seaway District High School and are awaiting a response from the Riverside Presbyterian Church. Other partnership opportunities exist and will be pursued upon the official approval of this endeavor. Community gardens are increasingly more important given the ongoing impact of the pandemic. They provide a vehicle for increasing food security and enhancing physical and mental health. These gardens will give people a source of pride and joy and a reason to get out of the house to check their gardens. Many people will depend on this garden to extend their food budget, and the bounty can be donated to our local food cupboard. Registration for the allotment plots will be online with hard copy forms available throughout South Dundas's communities. A handbook of good gardening guidelines will also be provided to gardeners, providing guidance and direction as to how to be a good garden neighbor. Existing community gardens within the cities of Ottawa, Cornwall, and Kingston noted an upward trend of users during 2020 over 2019. And most plan to increase the number of allotments available for 2021. Lion community gardens across Ontario are experiencing similar patterns. There is no doubt that the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club will make this work and look forward to a positive decision from our council on this matter. Our community will be stronger as a result of this initiative. Again, on behalf of the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club, we thank you for this opportunity and look forward to working with you and satisfying any questions and or concerns that you may have. And at that, we wish you a good evening. Any
Okay,
questions, concerns?
Thank you, Carol. I'll ask council. I'll go around the table. Deputy Mayor Gardner, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Byvelds. Love community gardens. Thank you so much for this initiative. We love our Iroquois Matilda Lions and our Morrisville Lions. Just two points of interest. You mentioned Seaway. Just wondering if you would consider extending the invitation to have the Iroquois Public School get involved. And then the second, oh, go ahead, Carol.
Oh, we would love that.
Okay.
We want
And
to
the
make
second
that community garden.
Yeah, I just think they're fabulous. The second question I had was, we are having a discussion, and dare I bring this topic up, but about how we're doing compost in South Dundas. And one of the things that community gardens can do on top of beautifying and activity and all that fun stuff is they can act as a community compost demonstration site. So for residents that aren't composting, sometimes you can have some education around what a backyard composter would look like, that type of thing. So that may be part of potentially, if you're willing. I mean, I know obviously when you're gardening, you've got compost and there's benefits and stuff. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there if that would also be, because it would be nice to be able to demonstrate what a true composter looks like to our residents.
Yeah. We've actually discussed a number of things. What we'd like to do is bring in experts over the growing season. So it takes people basically from tilling the earth, putting the seeds in, to canning and preserving their produce. So all of those are integral parts of this whole process. And I think to get people really engaged, We need to give them the information and knowledge that makes them successful and makes it easy for them.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Councillor Wells.
Hi, Carol. Very, very good idea. I went through, I never actually, personally, I'm not a gardener myself. One of my questions was to, if there was other places around, obviously there is. And alluding to Deputy Mayor's, my question about the compost situation we're going through right now, it would be a good place to educate people on, since it's going to be a public garden, how to go and do composting and stuff like that, and get more people involved in it. The overall idea, I think, is a great idea. I think it's, especially in this pandemic times here, it's going to bring the community closer together, and I think it's a great idea overall. And getting the kids involved in that too is really, it's a win-win situation. And yeah, I'm all the power to you guys. Very good. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Councillor Lewis.
No, I have no questions. The only thing that I have to say is that not only the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club, but the Morrisville Lions Club, you go beyond what is really asked of. You do a fantastic job in the community. You're very, very outstanding, and some of the stuff that you do, that you get involved in, is just right out of this world. And I would personally like to thank you very much for the services that you do for our community. And I think this community garden project is fantastic. It gets people out of the house. And some of us, as Councillor Wall said, some of us are not green thumbs, but some of us do like working in gardens. And I thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm very impressed. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. We'll turn everybody into green thumbs, and they'll have fun doing it.
Councillor Mellon.
Yeah, just another wonderful example of what the Lions clubs in our community have done and are doing, and they're continue to do. I guess the only real question to me is the location of it. You have a couple, 2 or 3 different locations. I'm sure between yourselves and staff, you'll come up with, in my mind, the location that is best suited for everything that is needed, and security and lighting. And but yeah, well done. I applaud you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
And my comments echo all of council. It's a good idea. It brings the community together, and you know, it's in the spirit of what the Lions do, and especially Iroquois Matilda, and looking after our community. It certainly appears that council agrees to your project in principle, so we will turn it over to staff to work with you. If there's any issues that need to come back to council, then we can deal with them at that time. But your first objective is to find a location between what your ideas are, and make sure they all work logistically with us and with the community. But you have some good ideas, and I certainly look forward to how this all turns out in the end.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We look forward to hearing back from your staff.
Okay, thank you. Take care, all of you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
So we'll move on in our meeting. We'll go on to action requests. First one's FES 2021-04, which is the 2021 Community Emergency Management Committee.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Mellon, that council accept report FES 2021-04 to approve the community control group for the municipality of South Dundas for 2021 as presented.
Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. This request is just part of our compliance for 2021. If you look in your consent agenda, you'll see item D is our letter of compliance for 2020. These are all items laid out for us that we need to meet to become compliant under the Emergency Management Civil Protection Act. So our advisors asked us to get this done, so we send it to council, and we hope that you will approve it. Thank you. I'll answer any questions you have.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns, Deputy Mayor Gardner?
Yeah, just a comment. As somebody who jets in and out of that committee as required, I just wanted to say kudos. I think the public that's watching needs to know kudos to the public and the staff and the mayor that attend those those emergency management meetings when they have other things in their life going on with the pandemic. It's a difficult thing to do. Lots of stresses, lots of hard decisions to make. And I think the group, Cameron, yourself and the mayor and the rest of the staff, I think I'd like to say, as somebody who's seen you guys in action and having to do it week after week for a year and a half, like it's been a long drawn out process. And I just, on behalf of, I'm sure, our grateful residents, I just like to say thank you. And that commitment, it's almost too much for me now. I just jump in. I haven't been able to attend some, but the mayor, the staff, Cameron, your dedication and having those difficult conversations when there's a lot of other stuff going on. I wanted to kind of highlight and say thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Councilor Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. No, just you guys, like Deputy Mayor, like kudos go out to you. These guys are there week after week after week through this pandemic, and it's I read the minutes. I don't attend the meetings, but I go through the minutes, and you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Councilor Lewis?
No, I would just like to say thank you to the committee that sits on the community emergency management. You guys do, or I should say, you ladies and gentlemen do an outstanding job. I also read the reports that are handed out, and I'd like to thank you very much because I know it takes an awful lot of time, and some of you just don't have that time to be doing it, but you do it anyways because you do an outstanding job. Thank you very much.
Councilor Mellon?
I really can't add anything already been said, other than, 14, 15 months ago, we would have never thought of, heard, or knew, never thought of this as with just, community emergency management committee, but it's great to have, and it's been well utilized on time and the backs of a few individuals. So I have no issues with Cameron's report.
Okay, and I do appreciate the comments from council. I do appreciate all staff, especially Cameron, in doing his role as the chief official in this. It's a lot of work in the last year. I think this is one of those committees you have in the background, hope you never have to use, but as much as we weren't technically in an emergency, we did utilize it, and it was a good idea, a good sounding board to get things done that we had to get done according to any new regulation, and they change every week, as we know, at times, and we're still not done. I know there's only 4 cases left in South Dundas, but that can explode anytime, and we have to be all aware of what's going on with it. And I will also remind the public and council that, this committee is always kept council's thoughts in their mind. We aren't technically an emergency, so our powers are somewhat limited, but it gives us the opportunity to do what we need to do in a short period of time. And I always remember that if there's something major that has to be decided that I feel council needs to be involved, it will always happen. Now, if having said that, if we were in a true emergency and called an emergency, then council's role is very limited, and the committee and even my role is limited, besides declaring the emergency, and council's role in the end, declaring it done. But certainly been an interesting year. I don't think any one of us signed up for it, but we'll manage and we've learned from it, and we'll continue to learn from that. Anything else from council? Anything else from you, Fire Chief?
No, not at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we've all heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion, please. Those opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next one is ES 2021-08 grass cutting tender results.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Mellon. The council accept report ES 2021-08 to award tender ES 21-01 to Superior Group for the grass cutting and trimming in South Dundas for a total bid price of $53,139 plus HST.
Austin?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The report you have in front of you this evening is regarding the 2021-2022 grass cutting tender, which was issued on March 23rd and officially closed on Friday, April 9th with 5 submitted bids. Upon review of all 5 bids, staff recommend that council award the tender to Superior Group out of Williamsburg, as their submission was the most competitive and complete. Staff would like council to note that the Superior Group successfully met all compliance areas, as well as gave 3 references, which included the City of Cornwall, City of Ottawa, and Township of North Stormont, all of which had nothing but great things to say and had no issues with their performance whatsoever. In addition, as Superior Group's bid came in below budget, staff will be able to add or remove cuts as required while still working within our budget in 2021 and 2022. If council has any questions, I would be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Gardner?
No, no questions. Thanks, Austin, for the report.
Councilor Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. No, good with everything. One thing was I was going to ask you about references, and you already said it was good, so I'm good with this. Thank you.
Councilor Lewis?
Just one question, Austin. I don't know the Superior Group whatsoever, but have you gone out and checked their equipment to see what they have?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that was one of the questions that I asked the references when I called, and all of them said they had no issues with their equipment and it was always professional and clean.
So nobody has gone to check the equipment to make sure? Sometimes word doesn't mean everything.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, staff have not gone and checked the equipment as of today.
Okay, well, I would go and inspect it just to make sure. I'm not saying that Superior Group is not a good company, but it's always nice to have a look at what they got. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon?
Yes, Austin, the 53,139 plus, that's the same amount each year, 2021, 2022.
That's total.
That's a 2-year, that's for 2 years.
Yes.
That's for 2 years. Okay, thank you. I was looking to see if this was a 1 year or that was okay. Let's drive on.
Okay, and I will echo Councilor Lewis's thinking on checking out the equipment. It's not a bad thing to do. I do believe that the references probably are correct, but I'm one of those visual people too that, my advice to you is to go check it out and ensure that you're going to be happy with it. The other thing that, as I discussed with you earlier, or put in an email, that the contract we signed with them is them infers on them that they will fulfill the contract for 2 years, and there's no out clause if they do decide not to do it next year, that we will file for damages to make up the difference. So as long as they're aware of that, we have a good commitment, then I think this is great. The price is right. It seems like every year we put this out, and people like that. This is extremely competitive, and I think when I started in this business way back when, we were paying 64 plus for this, and now we're even less. So good to see. Hopefully everything works out. Anything further from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Motion opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next report is CS 2021-01, municipal approval alcohol sales.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Wells, that council accept report CS 2021-01 to exempt Sherry's Incorporated from mandatory closure under the Retail Business Holiday Act 1990 to remain open for Victoria Day, Canada Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Family Day.
Ethan?
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds. Through you, as outlined within the report and the attached letter, Sherry Mode of Sherry's Inc. in Williamsburg is requesting relief from the Retail Holiday Business Act to remain open and sell alcohol on the days listed. If approved, the letter would be sent to the owner as requested to fulfill that request from the ministry. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Any comments, questions, concerns from any members of council on this? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to bylaws. First bylaw tonight is 2021-31, the Barclay Municipal Drain.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2021-31, being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Barclay Municipal Drain, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This bylaw is to assess out costs for the Barclay Municipal Drain, which was maintenance was completed in 2016. It cost $34,000. The amount to be assessed out to the watershed is $27,199. It's identified in Schedule A. Thank you.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from any members of council on this? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you, Sean. Next one, bylaw is 2021-32, fire safety grant transfer agreement.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Wells, that bylaw number 2021-32, being a bylaw to execute a fire safety grant transfer agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Office of the Fire Marshal, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As in the report, on March 11th, we had a webinar or web conference with the Fire Marshal of Ontario, Peg. He informed us that the province wanted to give the fire service some funds, which was exciting news. But we had a short time to turn around and get our applications in, which was 8 days later. So we could only spend the money in two avenues. One was in training and one was in prevention. So we went out and got some quotes and prices on some electronic equipment, some computers, some cameras, some tablets. We want to start because of COVID, and we feel that the virtual world will not end when COVID ends. We will be able to get to schools virtually, maybe do kids' Christmas or birthday parties virtually. We've got some ideas that we want to work forward in recording some of our events. Start a YouTube channel so people can access them 24/7. We did end up, so every department in Ontario had a base number of 4,500, and then there was a formula to get to, because of your population as of the last census, we ended up with $7,200. So we've purchased some items to help us through training and help us expand our fire prevention education. I will answer any questions that you have as of now. Thank you.
Any comments, questions, concerns over this from any member of council? Councilor Mellon?
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds. Yes, Cameron, I did some quick math, and that's not my forte, but we're getting 72, but you're spending just a little with your computers and whatnot is around just a little over 661. Is that right? Am I getting my math right, or am I missing something? I mean, I'm just hoping we can find some other places to use that grant money that we don't have to send it back. Don't want to give anybody money back. So let's keep it here in South Dundas somehow, somewhere.
No, with all the equipment we had spent just around $7,000. We bought computers from the county, the tablet from the county, and then we had ordered the camera. And it was just, yeah, we've spent the money according to the math that I have, Councillor Nellen.
I don't like to say good job, well done for spending all the money, Cameron, but well done. Okay, bye.
Okay, there's nothing further. We've all heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next bylaw, 2021-34, AMP screening. Oh, sorry. Backing up. 2021-33, Administrative Monetary Penalty System, or AMPS.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2021-33 being a bylaw to adopt an administrative monetary penalty system be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Paul?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This bylaw, named AMPS bylaw or Administrative Monetary Penalty System bylaw, is brought forward to essentially remove parking tickets and other traffic infractions from provincial courts. This will allow staff and appointed hearing and screening officers to address these matters outside of the courts, alleviating the time and money spent with legal fees. I can answer any questions at this time.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns on this bylaw? I think we discussed it earlier in a committee of the whole, if I remember right. Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Now we're moving on to 2021-34, AMP screening officer and hearing officer.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2021-34 being a bylaw to authorize a screening officer and a hearings officer to adjudicate reviews and appeals of administrative monetary penalty system be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Nicole?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This bylaw is to allow Council to appoint members of staff and residents as screening and hearings officers. So the screening officer would be a member of municipal staff who represents the municipality when someone wants to appeal their parking ticket. If the screening officer denies the appeal, the resident would be able to go forward with a hearing officer. The hearing officer must be an external member. They cannot be staff. They would have to be a resident of South Dundas, and that member would have to be appointed by council as well. I can answer any questions at this time.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council? Deputy Mayor Gardner, please.
The only thing is, once we get to a certain point, because it's a new process, I would like to see, Nicole, if staff could come back and kind of give us a report, you know, including, I know it's awful because it's adversarial. People have gotten a parking ticket and they're annoyed, but they are also our customers in this process. I would definitely like, before we get into years and years of doing this, I'd like to definitely see, before we got too deep into it, to just make sure that it's set up and it's doing what it should be doing. So that's the only comment I'd like a report back, maybe 6 months or a year in.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, and through you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor Gardner, I would be including that information in my monthly updates as well for bylaw. So previously, as it wasn't included, it would have a blurb of the AMPs and any appeals that came through, and how that kind of ended, I guess you could say.
Any other comments, questions, concerns from any other? Yes, Councillor Wells. Then I'll just go around the table.
Thank you, Mayor. So the screening officer, it's just going to be done in-house, Nicole. We're not going to hiring someone else. And so the hearing officer, so what, you go out and you advertise for that, and like, what does he get deemed paid so much for each hearing thing as a meeting, I guess, or? something like that?
Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor. The screening officer would be a member of municipal staff. It can't be someone from my department, so no one in building and bylaw. Ideally, we have two, just in case there's vacation or conflict for those appointed members, but the external staff would need to have some kind of enforcement background at least. Ideally in bylaw or some kind of, I guess, legal understanding of how bylaws work. I know there's quite a few residents that have the experience and have expressed interest. We haven't decided if we're going to post that as a position or not. I'd have to double check with Clerk Brenda to determine how that is, but they would need to be compensated for their time, similar to Committee of Adjustments, where it's a $75 charge per person. And we do have the fees to cover those costs. So when someone applies for an appeal, they have to pay for the hearing.
Thank you, Nicole.
Council Lewis, any comments, questions, concerns?
No, I have no questions or concerns. I think it's a good thing to start happening.
Council Mellon?
No, Councilor Wells has sort of touched on what I was interested in or thinking about. I guess, Nicole, that this would be in place. The hearing officer from the public would be in place. Obviously, it would be in place ahead of time, like you'd have somebody already authorized. You're not going to have to go out and get somebody, So yeah, that would have to come back. Council, I don't think, but yeah. Okay, no, I'm pretty well.
Anything further, Nicole?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So staff would have to come back to council to have those members appointed. So council has the authority to say yes or no for that member being appointed. We do have some time where we have to submit all of the short form wording and fees to the Regional Superior Justice for approval. So with this bylaw going through, we can now submit it to the Regional Superior Justice. And once we receive word back, that's basically when it becomes effective and we can start the whole process going through.
Okay. Yeah, as much as it's a different way of looking at justice in South Dundas, I believe it's a very effective way, and I think it still gives our residents who have been charged a way to appeal that charge, and I think that's always important in any kind of judicial goings on. Everybody has to have their day in court, and this will allow that to happen. Anything further from any member of council? Seeing none, I'll hear the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next bylaw is 2021-35 zoning bylaw amendment, part lot 17, concession 11141 Candy Road 2.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Wells, that bylaw number 2021-35 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2010-48 be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Aaron, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This bylaw applies to the lands known municipally.
No, we can't hear you, Aaron, for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay, I'll hold the mic by my mouth.
Yeah.
So this bylaw amendment applies to the lands known municipally as 11141 County Road 2. The applicant applied to rezone the subject lands from rural to highway commercial with special exception to permit a sales office, model home, to reduce the lot area from 4,000 square meters to 2,350 square meters, and an exception to reduce the front and interior side yard setback for the signage from 10 meters to 3 meters. A public meeting for this application was held on March 22nd. The proposed recommends that the application for rezoning as submitted by the applicant not be approved, and that council approve an amendment pertaining to the subject lands as a temporary bylaw. This will result in the subject lands being rezoned from rural to rural temporary use 1 to permit a sales office, model home, and billboard sign for a period of up to 3 years to support the development of a residential subdivision, and to reduce the lot area from 4,000 square meters to 2,350 square meters, and to reduce the front and interior side yard setback for the temporary signage only from 10 meters to 3 meters. I can now answer any questions at this time.
Okay, so just to clarify, Aaron, at this time, there's no plan of subdivision located behind that residence as somewhat proposed in their application at our table?
That is, no application has been submitted to the council, and nothing has come
Okay.
through me yet either.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Gardner, any comments?
Thanks, Mayor Byvelds. Based on what you've said, Aaron, and in reading the report, I'm going to agree with the planning department and their concerns about the suitability of the zoning request. And I'd also add that at this time, I'm not comfortable with any temporary use suggested in the report.
Council Wells?
Thank you, Mayor Byveld. I agree with the Deputy Mayor there. I'm going to go with the planning department. And I'm not comfortable with the temporary thing. Down the road, if there's a subdivision or something that's is coming up, I always welcome business here. Maybe at that time, the applicant reply again and go from there. But for now, I'm going with the planning department.
Council Lewis?
By what I hear from you, Aaron, I will have to agree with the planners very strongly that we do not accept it. And I also have to agree with my other two colleagues and not accept the 3-year term also. Thank you.
Council Mellon?
Yes, I'll just, I guess, echo what my colleagues have already spoken to. The fact that, I'm not comfortable with that temporary designation being put onto this. And I think I agree with what the planner has reported here and in this report and in their recommendation. So, no, I'm not in favor of it.
Okay, and I will also echo council's sentiment. I do agree with our planning department about denying the application, and also agree with council that going temporary at this time it will not suit us in South Dundas. But I also echo the words of Councillor Wells. If the proponent ever does come to first of all the counties in South Dundas with a plan of subdivision, we certainly will be at least willing to entertain anything they'd like to do, and we will work with them at the same level as we do with any other developer in South Dundas. Anything further from any member of council? If not, we've all heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed to the motion? Motion is defeated. We'll move on now to 2021-36 zoning bylaw amendment for lot 8, 9 on concession 7. Aaron?
Thank you. This bylaw is for part lot 8 and 9, concession 7, that was discussed in the public meeting earlier tonight. This amendment is a result of severance application B-102-20, which resulted in the severance of a surplus dwelling from a vacant farm parcel. This bylaw will rezone the severed lot from agricultural to agricultural special exception 70 to recognize the reduced frontage from 45 meters to 8 meters and rezone the retained lot from agricultural to agricultural special exception 8, which will not permit new residential uses on the lot.
Okay, I'll call on the clerk to read the motions. I didn't do that, sorry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, second by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2021-36 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2010-48 be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Move on to 2021-37 zoning bylaw amendment for part lot 36 concession 8 north. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2021-37 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2010-48 be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Aaron, please.
Thank you. This bylaw is for part lot 36, concession 8 north, that was discussed in the public meeting earlier this evening. This bylaw will rezone the subject lands from mineral aggregate pit to rural. It will also remove the rural special exception 26 and agricultural special exception 31 for the abutting lots, as they are no longer mineral aggregate pit adjacent lands. This bylaw is subject to a related housekeeping official plan amendment.
Okay, any comments, questions, concern from any member of council on this one? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. And that's it. Thank you very much, Aaron, for your work this evening. Next one is the consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Oh, sorry, Aaron.
Just one more.
Did I miss one? Yeah, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. Too many tonight.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2021-38 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2010-48 be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Once again, Aaron, sorry.
Thank you. This is for part lot 36, concession 5, which is 4326 County Road 31 or Bank Street. This bylaw will rezone the subject lands from general commercial to general commercial special exception 16 to permit a semi-detached dwelling, recognize the reduced lot area of 1,050 square meters, the lot frontage of 17 meters, front yard depth of 2 meters, and interior side yard width of 1 meter and 1.5 meters. Again, as introduced in the public meeting this evening, the applicant and their lawyer have requested rezoning to residential special exception to permit the commercial uses from the general commercial zone, as well as recognize lot deficiencies, which would be for lot area, front yard depth, and the interior side yard widths. So I'll turn it over to council if you have any comments or questions.
Any comments, questions, concerns for any member of council on this? Seeing none, all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Now, thank you very much, Aaron, for your work this evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Consent agenda, Madam Clerk, please.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that all items listed under general consent section of the agenda be adopted as presented, save and except for 10I, W, X, and Y be moved to discussion items.
Okay, so this evening we actually have a letter from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing concerning the gray lockdown zone, which is now really old news. We have a letter from the Ministry of Finance concerning the Ontario Cannabis Legislation Implementation Fund, which we will be receiving some funding for. Ministry of Infrastructure telling us about the delay in the asset management planning for municipal infrastructure. We also have a letter from the Ministry of Solicitor General concerning our 2020 Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act compliance, which we were very compliant with from an emergency point of view. We also have petitions from the town of Caledon, municipality of Calvin, town of Cochrane, town of Orangeville, city of Kitchener, town of Kingsville. We also have a letter from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation informing us of the delay in the province-wide assessment update, which will not happen in 2021 for 2022. So it'll be at the earliest 2023 before properties will be reassessed. We have a letter from the Stormont Dundas Glengarry Police Services Board concerning their composition. We also have a letter from the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and Eastern Ontario Regional Network concerning broadband funding and their projects for this spring. And also a letter from Rogers Communication, as Rogers was a successful proponent of filling in the cell gap in Eastern Ontario. We also have a letter from the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne concerning the transfer of 4 islands from Ontario Power Generation to Akwesasne. 2 of them are actually in South Dundas, toward west of Iroquois. We also had the minutes from 2 Iroquois Waterfront Committee meetings, and we also have minutes from the Archives meeting, which happened last week. We have key information report from our Economic Development Officer concerning a COVID-19 ad campaign, similar to last year. We have a key information report, which is our 2020 fire report from the fire chief. And we also have a key information report from Treasury concerning all the capital projects for 2021. And monthly activity reports from Economic Development, Water, Wastewater, Building and Planning, Fire and Emergency Services, Environmental Services, Transportation, Finance, and Administration. Busy month. All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. We're moving on now to boards, committees, and discussion items. There was no county council in the interim since our last meeting. Any cemetery board, Council Wells?
No, Mayor Byville.
There was no Iroquois District Business Group meeting. Morrisville BIA, Council Lewis?
No, not at this time.
Okay, South Nation Conservation Authority, Councilor Mellon?
No, this Thursday they have a meeting.
Okay, Morrisville Waterfront Committee, Deputy Mayor? Okay, and the Iroquois Waterfront Committee, they did have a meeting since our last meeting. However, I wasn't unable to attend, and our supervisor, our manager of Parks and Recreation, Austin, did. Your minutes are within the package. I think the big project that I think I'm a bit excited about there is the planning of historic signs along the waterfront, and they're working with John Gleed, so it'll be similar to the waterfront in Morrisburg. So I think a very worthwhile project for the Iroquois waterfront. South Branch Community Fund, Councilor Mellon?
No, they've been trying, but nothing yet. They were trying to meet in person, but I guess we'll have to try and do something virtually soon.
Okay, Carmen House?
No, not at this time, Mayor.
Dundas County Archives did have a meeting. There was you have a report from the archives in our council package, very detailed. There was a meeting to have a catch up we haven't had one in a year. Some discussion on space and how we can better utilize what we have, and how the 2 groups, UELs and our archivists, work together within that building and still be safe. There was no discussion on going to the west side at all at this time. And our clerk is currently working on an updated agreement with North Dundas. Currently, we only have a memorandum of understanding, and that needed some work. So we will be presenting a better agreement to North Dundas, and hopefully we can continue to work well on what the archives needs to do for us and them, and of course anything else that comes along. Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, thank you. Tourism Advisory Committee.
No formal meeting, but we have been doing some work on the pop-up shops, and we have a subcommittee meeting on Teams to discuss a possible grant opportunity for some of the events.
Economic development.
We finally had our first meeting on March 29th. It was virtual. It was really just an updated moving forward, answer questions kind of meeting, as it had been some time since we had met.
Okay, Doctor Advisory Committee.
Waiting for the two CAOs from our township and South Stormont to set a meeting for Donnie and I.
Okay. That sounds like a little push. Any comments, questions, concerns, any committees from any member of council? Okay, thank you. So we have a letter from Mr. Grinke concerning the parkland east of Morrisville. He had sent it to me with his concerns of initially the mess that's being left at the one gate, and secondly of proposing that we work with the Ontario government or the parks, which is not the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, but Parks Ontario, to do trails in there. My initial comment to him is that as much as the tires are not pretty and maybe should be cleaned up, it is not our jurisdiction, but if council wants to do something, then I'm willing to listen to them. So Deputy Mayor Gardner, go ahead.
Well aware with the DuPont Provincial Park, and you're absolutely correct. I think this letter could have been generated to the province, might have been more of a clearer path. Having said that, we did have Steve Morrow and his son Kai do a presentation about mountain biking trails, which are essentially just trails that could be a walking path, but mountain bikes are allowed to walk on them. And in my conversations with that group, and there is quite a few volunteers, there would be potentially some interest of talking to the province and seeing what we can do. I do agree with Mr. Granke. It's a shame to have a provincial park boundary that people are just going in and doing whatever, and nobody is really having any stewardship over it. But I think I'd like to see this letter addressed to the province, but I'd also it's on my radar for some of the community groups that want to do some natural projects. So I guess time will tell.
Okay, Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I like this letter here. I take the concern, but again, this is like Mayor alluded to. It's not really our jurisdiction, but I would entertain for us to, like the counties, maybe go down. We go together as a county road and that, and clean the tires up just to get them out of there. Like they are eyesore. And as far as the bike trail goes, I guess that would be up to the parks. I know there's a snowmobile trail that goes through the winter there, so I'm sure the Ontario Federation of Snowmobiles would have a lease agreement with them, but that's not saying that we couldn't make part of it or the whole park a bike trail or something during the spring and summer and fall. But I would be, as far as cleaning up, I think if we ask the province to go and do it, it'll never get done. So maybe a joint venture between the counties and the municipality to clean it up, and maybe the counties will clean it up and take the tires to our landfill site. So I would be up to that.
Councillor Lewis.
I have to agree with Councillor Wells on this one. I think if the counties and the municipality join forces, but I don't think it's really our responsibility. But I wouldn't mind teaming up with the counties and us to at least remove the tires. I do support Mr. Grinke's letter, but that's about as far as it goes. Thank you.
Council Mellon?
Well, I think I've made myself clear over the years about my feelings towards the Park Commission and the fact that they thumb their nose at us on any bridges. I think we need to once again explore the possibility of some kind of partnership with them to just deal with issues just like this and possibly any future development like the bike trail or walking trail through there. But you know, as far as us cleaning it up, yeah, it makes it's better for us or our image, but I really have an issue when, you know, their tax bill is almost insulting to us, but I got to put that behind me and give myself a rest on that one. And I guess if we have to clean it up, and maybe we should do a concerted effort with maybe see if the counties would help us, you know, poke at the province and see if we can get some kind of better partnership agreement or something that would benefit all of us, because we have a huge untapped resource there that we can't seem to make any progress at, just simply because of, it's not a lack of trying. I've been on council for 10.5 years, and I think we've approached them more than once. And so I think maybe it's time we approach them again, but whether we clean it up and, yeah, sure, clean it up. You know, that's about all I'm going to say.
Okay, so Council Mellon, I'm going to make matters worse for you because the Parks Commission is not responsible for that land. Parks Ontario are responsible for that land, and they actually don't pay us anything in taxes. So there's no benefit in having them around. It is a very passive park. I think they deal with it with Voyageur Park up in Chute Blondeau. So I think, you know, it's yeah, and technically they don't own it. Nature Conservancy of Ontario owns the property and perpetuity because that's who DuPont gave it to. But anyway, it seems like council wants us to work with the counties on cleaning, be proactive in cleaning that up. Deputy Mayor Gardner, you agree with that?
I absolutely do. I'm wondering if we have had any recent correspondence with the superintendent at Voyageur Provincial Park. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to send a letter. He'd be back, or he or she would be back it used to be Darrell White, but he's probably long since retired. They'd be back in the park now. And I think giving them a heads up at what's occurring there, in all fairness, it wouldn't be somewhere where they drive on a regular basis from Hawkesbury. So I agree with the county cleanup, but prior to that, I think we should give fair notice to the provincial park.
Okay, Paul?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just so council's aware, we did receive a bylaw complaint on the tires and such piled up at the park, and I have been in contact with our local rep. They are based out of Alexandria area, but they are aware of the tires and the mess. Photos have been provided to them, and we're just waiting for cleanup. I haven't been given a date on that, but they are definitely aware of it.
Yeah, their staff probably aren't back yet. That's probably part of the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you can continue to work with Parks Ontario staff, and failing that, council would feel it'd be an opportunity for us to work with the counties and see if we can at least clean up the disaster at that gate. And if we want to do trails or something like that down the road, then that's something that staff can work on if they so desire. But I think our main concern right now is the mess at the gate. So be proactive the way you're going now. I don't want to stop that, but failing that, I think we need to at least be the good stewards of what is not ours and make sure South Dundas looks better than it does at that location right now. Anything further from any member of council? Madam Clerk, do you need, is that direction good enough for now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is a letter from John Ross concerning the repaving of the airport runway. Shannon, do you have anything further to this letter? I could discuss it too, because he's given me all the information on it too, besides what's on here.
If you want to start, Mayor, I can add in anything that you don't touch on.
Okay, so John has is approaching us as council. I advised him that if he wanted to continue on with his project of repaving the airport runway, that he at least come to council and let us know what his plans are. He does fully intend to pay for the work, so that's not an issue to the council, but I think council need to be aware of what he wanted to do, why he was doing it, and why he had to choose the contractor as such, and due to the challenges of paving a runway. I think in the end, council needs to at least confirm that John can go ahead and get this work done, and staff need to confirm that John's thinking on how it gets paid and how he gets a donation receipt still work within the regulations and rules of CRA. So, Shannon?
Yeah, so just to add, I did have a conversation with Mr. Ross today by email. So I have been talking to the treasurer, and we've kind of worked out everything that he will need. So that will be communicated to him tomorrow. The only other thing we will require from him as well is any contractors that do the work will require the proper insurance, due that it is our property. So those things will be communicated to Mr. Ross tomorrow, and we'll proceed with the runway if council decides to.
Okay. Does Madam Clerk, do you have a motion for this?
Yes, I do.
Can you read the motion, please, and then council will decide on it?
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Mallon, that council accept the donation from John Ross to pave the Iroquois airstrip.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Gardner?
No, I don't have any issues with this. I think the only question I have moving forward is do we have any recorded use of that airport? Like, I think it's a very generous offer, and that's that's wonderful. But I just, maybe 10 years from now, if somebody asks us, what's your, like, is it logged? It must be logged somewhere, obviously. Okay. I just, I thanks for the donation, and that's great, but I have no issues with it. I'm just more looking for, well, actually, I'm not looking for anything now, but future discussions on, what the usage would be, and if we don't have a generous caretaker like John Ross for that airport, what our obligations are, that type of thing. So yeah, that's just a future comment, but no, this is, I don't have any issues with this, and I thank Mr. Ross.
Okay, Councilor Wells?
Thank you, Mayor. No, it's Mr. Ross did this runway 45 years ago and did a good job back then. I'm sure he's going to do another great job, and it lasts another 45 years. None of us here will have to really worry about what's going to happen. But no, a very thank you out to Mr. Ross for the donation, and I might have to get up in the Cessna and go and land on it, just see how it turns out after you get it repaved. Thank you.
Councilor Lewis?
No, I have no issues with this, but I'd like to thank Mr. Ross for his donation to repave the airport. It is getting pretty rough looking, and it's time to do something with it. So I thank Mr. Ross for his donation, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mellon?
No, very generous offer by Mr. Ross. I guess, Shannon, like you've already sort of touched on it, and Mayor yourself has, I guess, touched on it as far as the donation. I don't know if they're looking for a tax receipt or the HST has to be filed. The money has to go through us for, are they looking for the HST rebate, like a refund, like that we get, or that'll be probably part of the conversation, will it not be?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, what will happen will be, we've got the quotes from the contractors to do the work. So we will calculate what the HST rebate is, and then we will have the donor provide us a check for that amount. There will be a short agreement that if it does go over that amount, if they have to do extra work, whatever, then Mr. Ross will be on the hook for any additional work on top of that. So that will all be paid through the municipality so that we can take advantage of the HST rebate.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
And I concur with council. I do thank John for wanting to look after the waterfront lands of Iroquois, and especially the airport runway. I think if it wasn't for John, we wouldn't have this debate. So good on him to see that it needs to be redone, and I don't have any issue with it at this time. There's nothing further from council. Like, all heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Lloyd, I lost you. You are in favor, I assume? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. So there's a series of consent agenda items that I asked to be pulled out. So I will start. The first one is the Butterfly Way project that we received a letter from Christina Enright and Carol Fiddler concerning a project that they're working on with the counties. I just wanted, it wasn't as much as something for us as specifically for South Dundas as a municipality to do, unless staff think of a good place to do it. But I want to make sure that the public is aware that there are people that are concerned about what is going on in South Dundas and SCG, and are willing to work and ask us to work towards having pollinator patches and patches for butterflies that there is somewhere for them to go. I know that each and every one of us do care about South Dundas, but we all, to have people make us more aware of these goings on with these kind of projects is a good thing. There's no doubt that a pollinator patch done right is certainly beneficial to the environment and to the pollinators and butterflies. So heard a lot in the news lately. I know that farmers are always told that they are the bad uglies in this whole debate, but I think almost every farm has somewhere where things are let go, and pollinators still have an opportunity to do what they need to do. In fact, we have a beehive operation in our north pasture that's still rolling. So anyway, it's more an information for us as council and staff, and you know, if staff ever thinks they have a project or the waterfront committees have a project that blends into this, then here's an opportunity to join forces. Any comments from council, Deputy Mayor Gardner?
No, I'm glad you pulled this. I like the pollinator projects, and who knows how it can lead. We just heard about a community garden. I think that sometimes folks get so frustrated because some of these problems do have solutions. It just means that somebody has to take the lead. So nope, I think this is great.
Councilor Wells?
No, I think it's a great thing. I read through it, and it's there's a lot of stuff there. Like I said, I'm not a gardener and that, but I'd be something like this. It'd be very interesting just to put in the backyard, and it's not a costly thing, and and I think it's good. I like what I see. Thank you.
Councilor Lewis?
No, I'm glad you did pull this, Mr. Mayor. This is quite interesting. Everybody loves butterflies. No, I think this is going to be a good program for them to start. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon?
No, yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing, Mayor Byvel's like, they've already reached out to South Nation, so I hate to see us maybe, maybe we should collaborate with them if we're thinking of anything like this. So we're not duplicating in one area, or maybe find out where they're going with this, or maybe even as far as that goes, the counties are going with something like this. So we're, I guess, spread our resources out or across all the area. But yeah, other than that, no.
Okay, well, and you're right, collaboration is a good thing. They have reached out to the counties and SNC, and staff is aware that council thinks it's a good project. If something comes along and they see an opportunity, then they can always bring something back. And as I still say, the waterfronts are going to be another opportunity if somebody wants to do it. And I'm not talking about a quote unquote weed patch, but something that that not only works for pollinators and butterflies, but also beautifies the area. Okay, that's all I wanted to do on that. Next one actually is recorded incorrect. I had asked the key information report concerning the attendance and discipline policy from the fire department be pulled. Not to challenge the chief, but I wanted to make sure that council was aware that this policy was being changed in collaboration with the fire departments, and if there's any feedback or any concerns that council had this time. So Chief, can you let us know what's going on there, and then we can see if there's any input we need to have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So as of the report, we have had some meetings with especially the station out in Williamsburg, and part of our discussion was these two particular policies that the fire department were following. As you can see in the report, we've lined out the old policy, put in the new one. Shannon and I had spent some time with the municipal solicitor on employment to make sure that the wordings were correct, that we were updating the policies. We were meeting some of the concerns from the group in Williamsburg, and they're good ideas. And if you have any questions or concerns, I'll take them now. Thank you.
Okay, so that's on page 273 of our agenda package. Deputy Mayor Gardner.
Yeah, what's Cameron, what's your procedure when you change policy like this? Do you go out to the firefighters for a pre-review, pre-consultation?
So we discussed this a month ago at our officers meetings. We sent it out for, so all firefighters would have an opportunity to have a look at it. I've heard nothing back. I will send it out tomorrow. If council approves this, we'll send it out one more time to everyone to make sure that they are in agreement and they know and understand the changes. And then we'll put it we'll follow it.
Okay, that's my only concern is communication is the utmost of importance. And I think anytime you have a policy that's going to change, the engagement piece is huge. And, letting them know that they actually are able to give some constructive feedback, it would be helpful. And I don't have issues per se with the policy as long as it's something that our frontline fire people can live with. So I just want to make sure it works in the current climate with people balancing everything and that type of thing.
Okay. Councilor Wells, any comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, I went through it, and like Deputy Mayor, I just want to make sure our fighters and volunteers are fully aware that's going on, that we're just not throwing this on them for just make sure everyone's aware of it and everyone has opportunity to read it over and I would like to see what they think of the policy too, because they're the ones that are going to have to follow it. It's council's not there doing it. So yeah, as long as like our volunteers are good with the policy, I know at the end of the day it's our decision, but really it's their decision, because I think highly of our firefighters and everyone, and just want to make sure it's fair across as far as the administration goes and our firefighters.
I think Councilor Lewis, you off right now?
No, I just turned on.
Okay, go ahead then if you have any comments, questions, concerns on this.
No, I think as long as there's the communication there, Chief, and all three stations are happy, you know, we have to work together. We're like a team. So I think if all three stations are happy with what's here, I think council should be very happy that all three stations are happy to apply by the rules here. So no, but I would like to see maybe a little bit of feedback from the fire departments on this issue. If you don't mind, please and thank you.
Councilor Mellon?
Oh, yeah, I'm hearing what my colleagues are saying, and you know, it's to try and find that balance of happy medium between, you know, protecting the firefighters and making sure they're on board with this, and you know, yet being in compliance with the training and the mandatory requirements that are out there. Maybe make this a mandatory read for all firefighters. Make sure that this is going on past maybe the executive, the chiefs or whatever. Make a copy of this and say, would everybody read this, everybody sign off on this, so that all the firefighters realize this, so we don't have something to come back and bite us and say, oh, I didn't know you were changing this, or, you know, I don't know, just make it a mandatory read. It's not that long, and then, you know, have the firefighters sign off that they have read it, not, you know, and any feedback they have from it.
Okay. And Chief, I didn't bring it out to criticize. I just wanted to make sure that council was aware of the changes and wanted to make sure that communications do go through to the firefighters. In the end, you know, we like their feedback, but we need to follow some procedures that are stipulated by higher bodies than us, and it also protects them as firefighters to make sure they can work as a unit. So I just, as I said, just wanted to make sure it was out there and make sure council, if any issues, they could bring it forth. We do look forward to this policy coming back to council and making sure that it's endorsed by the majority, and hopefully something that they can work with going in the future. Any comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like I said, I will get this out tomorrow morning, and after, like I said, I'm going to bring it to council first so they could review the changes, and then we'll get it out to everyone. And I'll bring you another report back in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next thing is a key information report concerning the roadside brushing program. I had asked this to be pulled also. I have heard some concerns from some residents on how we do the roadside brushing program, so I'll turn it over to our Director of Transportation to explain his program, and then we can discuss the concerns and see if there's anything we need to go forward with it. So Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So during the 2021 budgets, Council had asked Transportation Department to come up with a plan or a schedule of how we were going to move forward to get the brush pushed back on our rural roads and try to eliminate the overhead branches which are encroaching on our roadway. So I broke it down into years 2021, 2022 and 2023. I have spoken with the operator of the unit of the excavator, and he feels that two plow routes is doable to get over them. Once we hit 2023, then the program would turn more into a maintenance style program versus a program for brushing operations. So as we do this, as we move forward, the brusher picks each road. I've included them in my KIR as plow routes, and he travels each road up and down, and he ultimately brushes back the branches that are encroaching or the trees which are close to the road to open up the roadway. Vehicles are getting bigger, and we're trying to eliminate branches hitting vehicles on our roadway. Keep in mind that this brusher is not a finishing mower. It is a brushing machine. So it leaves wood chips on the ditch line. That's where they stay. It does brush up the branches. Sometimes branches are missed and they end up in the ditches. But on the most part, it does what it's supposed to be doing as a brushing unit, eliminating the tree without having to cut the tree down. If there's any more questions at this time, Mayor or Council, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
Okay, so some of the concerns I have had some preliminary discussions with Jeff is that we all have to keep in mind that some people don't care what we do on our roadways, and then we do have a group of concerned citizens that take their roadways to heart and say we'd like to keep them as pretty as possible. So I can understand the brushing that has to be done, that sometimes we get a little, from what I'm seeing, is gone beyond perhaps where we needed to go. And the other big concern we have is that now that we're way behind some of the large trees, because they're almost trees by then, leave a lot of debris, and I know that some of it can't be picked up, but if it just looks like a chopped off stump and doesn't look all that great, and some of the pieces laying there are fairly large, maybe we need to have a program to pick up some of them after the brushing is done. I can see the small stuff, it'll disappear over a year or two, but as I said, some people take a lot of pride in the area they live, and they'd rather us do the same thing too. So that's the comments I was getting from some residents, especially on certain roads. Go ahead, Jeff.
So, Mr. Mayor, to your point, we try to minimize the amount of brushing which we do in front of a resident's house. If it's got a manicured grass along the roadway, we try not to brush on it because it does leave the mess. We try to only brush where it's not in front of a resident's household. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, I understand that and appreciate that, but even the sections in between, people, they still want to have a fairly neat landscape when we're done, and sometimes that can't be achieved by just sending a brusher out and chewing her down to whatever it chews it down to. We're behind. That doesn't help either. I will admit to that. Any comments from any members of council? Deputy Mayor Gardner?
Yeah, just a couple. So Jeff, whenever you say when emergencies arise, you're not talking about people just calling in and being upset. You're talking more about like there's a situation where brush has to be cleared out. Like how are you triaging what I see the routes and everything, but you've got in your report when emergencies arise, the brusher will be dispatched. So how are you triaging that, and what defines an emergency?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor Gardner, an emergency for me, I guess an emergency may be a kind of a strong word. If a tree branch is broken or just hanging there, I get numerous phone calls from the busing company. Branches are hitting our trees. They're on the routes, they're on the roads, and they know where the branches are. Then we would send the brusher there to clean up that one identifiable area. And then he would return back.
Yeah. It would be like after a weather event or something like that is
That's
what you're
correct.
talking about?
Or
Okay.
a phone call in through the office. They would call us and say, listen, a branch is hitting our bus. Can we go and address it? That's
Okay.
where we would take something like that.
Fair enough. And when you've got the plow routes and you've got the dates that they're going to be doing, so if I'm on plow route number 4, would you have a rough timeline when the brushing would be done?
I wouldn't. He just travels each road on that plow route, and cleaning it up as we go. Now maybe we're getting a little overzealous, and maybe I need to go back and revisit this. But I'll use Whippoorwill as an example. He went from one end right to the other end of the road and cleaned up both sides.
Okay.
And that's just how, because if we're on it, we might as well check the whole road and then pick another road. He could cross it off. We move on.
Okay. Because as you know, a lot of the residents just want to know when. So sometime, yeah, just a rough timeline. But no, I'm good. Thanks, Mayor.
Council Wells, comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, I have a few questions. I understand like the brushing has to be done, and I drove some of the plow routes and seen down in Bexford Road, and well, Whippoorwill's always been an issue. It's a tiny road in there. But my concern is like when that brusher goes through, it it's more like a microburst that goes through. Like the branches are snapped and it's not a clean cut. Is there any implication like with the trees? Like I know when you cut branches off, there's certain ways you cut them and all that. As we know, our ash trees right now, everything's dying. Just by brushing and you're leaving like there's splinters like that, is there any risk of the tree dying? Because I know there is ways to cut branches and how sometimes they're painted to preserve them and stuff. And like when you guys go through till the leaves are up going again, I know it's quick. We can't go and cut every branch, but like the bigger stuff that looks like they're snapped by a microburst. Like, should we go and square them off, or I don't know? Because like the mayor alluded to, it's people's concern about the looks. And when this machine goes through, the looks, it doesn't look pretty. But my main concern is not so much the beautification of it, but is there any chance of it killing the trees?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, roads that we have done 2 years ago, it would look like you've never been through there. As far as shaving up, as you made reference to, Councillor Wells, about trimming up the tree, yeah, maybe we need to avoid panning the head on the brusher so it shaves it like this. Maybe we need to more focus on just bringing the tree right down to the ground. I know one road, and the mayor has made reference to it as Ridge Road. There is some spots where we need to go out with the chainsaw and we need to square them up. I totally understand that, and I get that, and we will go out and do that. But on the most part, no. I mean, I'm not a tree expert, and I'm not going to claim I'm a tree expert, but just from roads that we have done 2 years ago, the trees are still standing there.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. It was just a question. Like I said, I know, like just going up Bexford Road there, and the few others that you did, there is some trees that I would go back and just square off the bigger limbs. But like you said, you go back 2 years ago where you did the brushing and it looks like normal. So that's a good enough answer. Thanks, Jeff.
Council Lewis?
No, I think it's all been said. I know I've got a few complaints about how the rubber tire excavator does some real serious chewing. But I have to agree with Jeff. I think once it goes down that road, let the guys go with the chainsaw, square everything off. I think everybody will be happy. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've lost Councillor Mellon.
I'm here. I don't know what happened to my video.
You might come.
I froze out. Oh, there I am. Okay.
Hey, go ahead.
I froze out. Yes, thank you, Mayor Bivalves. Yeah, I mean, this is a hard thing. We're damned if we do, damned if we don't. I mean, people are, mirrors are getting tore off, trucks, it's hitting school buses, farmers are screaming because they're, I think we got to give ourselves a little bit of time. After the brusher goes through, it's going to look rough, but we got to give it a little bit of time. And like Jeff has alluded to, you go back a year or two, you wouldn't see it. You don't notice it. If you go down the road right after it's done, yeah, it maybe looks a little like a butcher job. But I know I talked to the operator, and I believe Jeff, that they're trying to do the best they can, and under the circumstances, and we're behind, and there's a lot of big stuff that's creeping out onto the road. If we could have stayed ahead of this, I think we wouldn't have had such this issue. And there's going to be some areas that people are going to complain, but we got to get up on it somehow. And if we're going to start picking and choosing what tree or what branch we cut, we're just going to cost us a whole lot of money. I think the way we got it set up, going down each road, doing it, and yeah, it might be a little bit, unless we want to spend a whole lot more money and send men out there with chainsaws to try and make it, maybe, look a little bit better in the short run. But I think we just got to give ourselves a little bit of time, and over a year or so, Mother Nature will replenish herself, and it won't look quite as bad. But I haven't got a problem. I think they're working on this and doing the best we can, and that's all.
Okay. So you've heard concerns from council, and I think it's a balancing act. Some places you got to consider what's going on and do the best you can. And if things look a little on the ugly side, maybe you need to clean up after. But I understand Councillor Mellon's opinion. We got to get done what we got to get done because it's way behind. It just if we can just, I guess, be a bit smarter in how we do it all and do it the best we can, then I think that's all we can expect to do. Anything further? Okay, thanks for that, Jeff. And then we'll go on to key information report and fleet repairs on the first quarter update. I wanted to make sure that council's on top of this. Was a bigger major discussion item during budget, and if it's going to be a major discussion time at budget, we need to be on top of it. So can you just go through where we are with this so far and how things are looking going forward, Jeff?
So thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you is just the first quarter report for the fleet spending. I knew this was going to be a hot topic, so I wanted to keep everybody up to date and not hide anything from them. So presently we are sitting at 73,281 in repairs, with 5,328 to be accrual to 2020 as late invoices. What I did was I identified the 4 units that are approaching the 10,000 threshold, and I've given you the amounts of them. I could break them down even further to kind of specific things which were done on each unit, but that's up to you, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like me to do that, or if you just want to accept this as information. My mechanic is being very diligent. He does understand the implications, and that we want to come within budget for 2021 financial period. I can answer any questions.
So the 73,281, how much percent of the budget has been used up with that amount?
It's good. We've got a budget of 175,000.
Okay, so about 100 left then. So you've used about a third. So third and a quarter, it means you're going ahead of schedule. I just want to make sure that, council still is concerned about this. Any comments, Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor Byveld. Yeah, so Jeff, so we were seeing that we're at a third and we're only a quarter into it. I'm just wondering, at council, we had at budget time, we had a pretty lengthy back and forth discussion. I'm just wondering if you had put into place any of the concerns that I know I had about this, or is it just same as? We had talked about kind of having a discussion before repairs are done, that type of thing. And I'm just wondering what you've put in place since our budget discussions.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. So we've now implemented a work order type system. So as as complaints come to my mechanic, he schedules the vehicle in to have a look at it, kind of the same as a regular garage. He reviews what the problem is. He sends a work order with pricing to the respective departments, and the department head then gives the okay to go ahead and to proceed with the repair. The only difference is, Deputy Mayor Gardner, if it's a safety issue, the repair gets fixed. Versus if it's something that could get pushed off, that's up to the department head to decide at that point. If it's a push off type of repair, or if it's a now type repair. Safety is a now. So yes, we have implemented that, and it seems to be working well as we're working right now.
Are you seeing a reduction in and I'm not questioning the safety. I totally get the safety. You don't want to put anyone at risk, but following that practice, have you seen where it's not a case of where things are automatically done, where they're questioned when it's not a safety concern?
No, we haven't seen, my mechanic and I haven't seen any different. They're not abusive type repairs that are coming in. They're just breakdowns. And if we could push it off, he's pushing it off. But if it's something that's needed right now, it's being repaired.
Okay, I'm just, like I said, I'm just concerned because as the mayor pointed out, we're 1/4 in and you're 1/3, and it looks like we might end up being well over budget again, and that's quite concerning. So I just kind of want to make that statement. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, so the number actually is over 40% right now. I did the calculation. Go ahead, Councilor Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. No, it's Jeff, it's nice to see this report. Like it's you're doing your due diligence, bringing in, like you said, safety. That's it has to be done. If we can, tires and stuff. If you tires, you can get another couple months out of them, stuff like that. Sure, but I think overall you're doing like the mayor said, we're at 40%. There 3 months down the road, you come back to us, we could be at the same amount. Like, who knows? It's just, we got the budget there. And like we said, we had a lengthy discussion on everything. Big vehicles and equipment like that takes maintenance. So I believe you're doing your, what I see, I like the report. And to deputy mayors, like to come back. I think like she's asking about stuff like that, which is great. And at the end of the day, I think this is a start. Can we improve it? Well, we'll see as this year ends up. But I think overall it's a start. At least we're in the circle now, and it's good. So we can kind of like a little asset management on our repairs type deal. So. No, you're doing good, Jeff. Thanks.
Councilor Lewis?
No, I have no comments. We gave our concerns to Jeff a while back, and I believe they're trying hard to not do what they don't have to do. But if it's a safety issue, yes, it has to be fixed. My only concern was a while back was if it could be fixed, is the mechanic fixing it, or are we just taking it off and putting new on? And hopefully we got that one straightened out. But no, I think we're going down the right path. Thank you, Jeff.
Councilor Mellon?
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, at budget time, this was discussed, and at budget time, I had, you know, the gut feeling, you know, that, you know, Murphy's Law will always dictate. We have 4 vehicles or 4 units that are eating up roughly 40,000 of the 73 that we spent so far this year. Is, you know, if we had a crystal ball, we could have, you know, upped the budget, lowered the budget, whatever we needed to do on this. But, you know, this was let's hopefully, I mean, I think Jeff has implemented some measures to try and, you know, eliminate, you know, the wants. We're only getting, we're only doing what we need to do, and you know, anything that's above and beyond that can be pushed off. I mean, it's up to that department head at that point to sign off on those. So, I mean, the safety issues and whatnot. It's, I guess, you know, cross your fingers and hope things stay together. But when you're operating stuff, that's when they start flying apart. So let's hope for the best.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I can give you an example, Unit 79, we're at the 10,364 mark. You can break that down into 3 items which we have done to that truck. Hydraulic hoses, it needed a hoist cylinder for the dump box, and it needed a new table chain inside the dump box, which brings the salt to the road ultimately. So there's 3 ticket items that's got us near that 10,000 mark. It's just strictly wear and tear, and I mean, that's stuff that we can't control. So just to put it in perspective is all I wanted to do.
Since you mentioned that, the hydraulic cylinder on the dump, what happened to it?
And the top seals let go. So it was either getting it repacked or getting new, and it was cheaper to go new than it was to send it out and get it repacked and brought back in.
I might challenge you on that one, but I'd like to see that.
Okay.
If it's fixable, it's fixable. I know there's cylinders that are not fixable. I just took one off a tractor that literally I threw the cylinder that was still working away because I couldn't change the seal in the end because it wouldn't let me. But that's a pretty expensive piece of machinery, a cylinder on a dump box, no doubt about it. Okay, well, I'm still concerned that we're at 41 plus, so I know it comes in spits and spurts. I look forward to the next report at the second halfway point, second quarter done, and we'll see where we are. But council, you did have a higher budget. We cut it back, so we expect that to be respected, please. Unless there's some emergency, and if so, then you come back to council and we'll see what we need to do. Okay, thank you. Any notices of motion tonight, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, so we will have another closed session as we had one previous to our meeting and was not finished off, and it seems like we're doing a lot, but please trust us as council that we are doing closed sessions only because we need to, and we have a lot of issues to deal with that have come up in recent times. So before I ask the clerk to read the next motion, I'd like to thank council for the work so far. Thank all staff for their input. I'd like to thank the audience for their participating tonight. And I also like to thank the presenters earlier on. It was good of them to come and let us know what about insurance and the exciting project in Iroquois. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, second by Councillor Wells, that council proceed in camera pursuant to section 239 2B of the Municipal Act 2001 concerning personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee.
All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. And with that, we will only go out of closed and do ratification by law adjournment after. So with that, we thank the audience for participating and take care.